Okay, greetings and welcome everyone. So in today's video we're going to look at how to put information into energy to create different types of effects. Now, when a person has an intention when they're vital breathing, that intention puts information into the vital energy that they're drawing in and out of their body. So this is a natural process. You just have to strongly think about something while you're vital breathing, and the information inputs itself. Now, it's how deep that information layers itself and how strongly it affects the person who breathes the vital energy in, the way it permeates their unconscious, and so forth, that we want to look at. So you'll hear me talk a lot about prayer, and that you insert a prayer into the akasha, you insert a prayer into water, you insert a prayer into vital energy. And prayer has a very deep layering process. Now, when you pray, there's an automatic assumption that you're connecting to something higher or greater than yourself. So you're connecting to your idea of God, to a deity, to divinity in some way. And this aspect of connecting through prayer means that layer of your consciousness that is in resonance with the deity or your concept of God is where the information is going to reside and influence from. Now, there's a hierarchy of influence within our system, and that hierarchy has a very, very strong, it dictates what is affected. Now, if you want to affect your health, you're going to place the energy and the information into the vital body, into the body consciousness, to affect your physical body, to affect your physical health. If you want to place the prayer and the energy information into your personality, to make a personality shift, you need to put it into the astral body. And if you wish to change mental patterning, the way you organize information and pull information in and out, then you're going to want to put that into the mental body, and so forth. So let's look at prayer to start with. Now, when a person submits himself to a deity, there's a humility. They humble themselves before their concept of Jesus or God or Allah or whatever term they want to use. And the way they humble themselves has a quality humility in it. Now, from the humility goes to a type of devotion. Now, devotion is deeper in that it's very actionable. When you are humble, you can be humble walking down the street, interacting with people, and you can be a humble personality type. But when you're devoted, that requires a deeper layer of commitment, a deeper layer of action, that you're prepared to go further to interact with the object of your devotion. Where humility has a limitation in relation to action, devotion is much deeper. So we move from the humble earth state to the devoted water state. And you can see the devotee personality types following religious systems quite strongly. And then from there, we work up the vibrational scale to reverence. You go from a state of humility to a state of devotion, and then you revere the deity. And through revering the deity, you emanate reverence in your personality towards the deity. Now, this state of reverence, that's a byproduct of revering something, someone, a deity of some type, is your next door for which people pray through. And then from there you have sacredness, the air element state. And sacredness is when everything becomes very quiet. When you're humble, you pay attention. When you're devoted, you're more focused. When you revere, you're more focused again. But when you enter into sacredness, you become extremely quiet and still. It's like everything in your body, every bacteria, every layer of the unconscious says, be quiet now, we're praying. And this is where the true persona of prayer starts to kick in, that you're submitting your unconscious as well as your conscious to a greater power because it's sacred to you. And this sacredness creates a type of space in which you can allow deity, divinity to accumulate in the space. When you're still in the humbleness stage, when you look at what is humility, what type of field does it create, it's kind of a submissiveness. Devotion, it's an emotional quality. Reverence, now the mind's starting to get serious, and sacredness, it's entering into the divine. So these stages of prayer and the states of consciousness are very important to understand, because when you look at a religious environment, it's usually devotional level that they're interacting with. The reverence, maybe a little bit, but not really. They haven't got enough evidence to revere something. They're usually behaviorally conditioned into a doctrine, and they're devoted to it. Now, the sacredness level, this is where things start to happen. So if you take let's say we're in front of the ocean and the water element and the spirit of water, you humble yourself before the spirit of water. You have a devotion to, well, you're mostly water, made up of water, and you're made up of the water element for the most part. And you have a reverence for the power of the ocean, the power of water, and the way the moon affects the water element in your environment and your internal emotional environment. And then you look at it as the spirit of water as being sacred. And once you look at it as being sacred, that's when you can put information through that sacredness into the water you touch on how you want that water to affect you. So you may make a prayer, may the spirit of water purify the mind, may the spirit of water purify the heart and the character, may the spirit of water purify the body. And as soon as you make that prayer and then you touch water, the consciousness of water generates a release mechanism through the mind, through the astral, through the physical body. Now, when we look at how deeply that release mechanism goes, it's how much you open up and play a part in that. Now let's look at, you get in the shower, you put the shower on, you go, that feels good, you're demagnetizing your emotions, you're cleaning your body, your mind clears, you feel refreshed. That moment where everything is kind of in that state of, this feels so good, the matrixes are opening, you're refreshing. If you take that moment, add sacredness into it, and really release into the sacred with that moment of release, that moment of change, that momentum of shift. And then you let the spirit of water permeate that prayer through the three bodies, then it layers itself within the information which makes up your mind, which makes up your astral sense of self, which makes up your body consciousness. And the information sets itself in there as a platform through that prayer of sacredness. Now, once we get to this space of sacredness, you need to rest your mind there and become comfortable with it before you can go from sacred to infinite. Now, sacredness still has a limitation of time and space. It still is here and present in the moment, where infinity, that emptiness, which is the next stage of prayer, it's infinite. It's beyond any form of comprehension. It's beyond time, it's beyond space. And it's a part of your consciousness that you're taking to the edge of what it knows into the unknown through paying attention to infinity, to the universal mind. And when we enter into this universal mind state, we need to have a method of, how do we get there? This understanding the stages of humility, devotion, reverence, sacredness, and into the infinite through the sacredness. It's one thing to have that as intellectual property, but we need tools, methods to actually practice that efficiently. And we do that through the three transformations. So what is the first transformation? slowing energy down. Your vital breathing, you slow the vital energy down. So you're essentially releasing time. And you reach that still point where the mind stops, the energy stops, and everything simply stands still. But you're at that still point. You haven't released space yet. Everything is simply quiet. Now when you start releasing space and feathering off the edges of your perceived sense of, oh, this is the limited space of my consciousness, while you're in that still point, then the mind starts expanding and letting go of its limited sense of mental self versus this limited sense of astral emotional self. So you move from identifying I am this body to identifying I am this astral emotional thing, I am consciousness, to I am universal consciousness. So releasing time through the 4-cycle breath and tuning the breath exercises, releasing space by feathering off the edge of the consciousness and breaking down those boundaries by demagnetizing the matrices, and then paying attention to the stillness which arises underneath it, and allowing your mind to become that stillness through which you become the infinity itself. And when your mind is in resonance with infinity, which is a contradiction in itself, but you get the gist of it, the mind is infinity, then you start experiencing universal mind, universal consciousness from that infinity as you reflect back into, oh, the mind is light. What is stuck to the mind generates reincarnation between each life and death. And that's a samsaric field, and that's what you're working with. So when you're in the infinity state and you place a prayer, you're saturating the mental, astral, and vital bodies, but you choose where the effect is going to be. You choose, is that effect going to be in the physical form? Is the effects going to manifest more through the astral? Is the effects going to manifest more through the mental? And so forth. You kind of have a choice about that. So this vibrational scale of prayer, you have the vibrational scale, and then you have the methods to access and train the scale, which we use the 3 transformations model. There are many models, but at the end of the day, the model is going to generate a certain amount of release of time. The model is going to generate a certain amount of release of space, and things have been quiet and still. You're going to pay attention to the stillness, which generates equanimity, which allows you access to Akasha and the infinite. And it's looking at the mechanisms underneath the method and the principles which are being activated. That's the most important, because that's what allows you to refine how you do something. It allows you to become better at it and allows you to access these higher states of consciousness through understanding what allows you to access infinity. So in the future videos, I'll be mentioning, okay, place a prayer into the water. Let's say if you want to do structured water, you take a glass of water with a tall, narrow glass. You swirl the water to make a vortex. You drop a pinch, just a very small amount of salt to change the tension of the water. And then you just keep swirling it for 1 minute while you vital breathe into the water, and you just put it and swirl. And while you're breaking and restructuring the water through swirling the glass, you're placing a prayer inside of the water. So while the water is restructuring itself, that little touch of salt is essential. The swirling is essential. The prayer is essential. You end up with a restructured water with a prayer inserted into the water. And then after a minute or two of doing that, you seal it in and then you drink it. And the reason we seal it in is we want it to permeate the deepest layers of that water so it doesn't dissipate, so it stays in that structure. So as your body drinks, you drink that, enters your body, it starts restructuring the water inside your body to come into resonance with your prayer, because it's on a deeper state, a more structured state than the water of your body. As it integrates, it becomes an alpha tuning fork, which affects the water in the rest of your body. You do that with all the water you take in. Very quickly, the water in your body synchronizes and structures that prayer, and you start vibrating at effect. So when we are, let's say, training initiation to Hermetics, and you go step 1, observe your thoughts rise and fall away, and you're separating the observer from the thoughts to get a release of consciousness of the mental body by getting the separation, demagnetizing the matrices. Then, before you start, you take a glass of water, put a pinch of salt in it, place the prayer for you're practicing the release of consciousness from objects, training a type of mindfulness in your path of service for the benefit of others. And then you start swirling the water element comes into resonance with its fate, which is the effect of how it's going to affect your consciousness, how initiation is going to activate within you. And then when you practice the exercise minutes later, you've got it, because you're already in unconscious resonance with what that exercise is, what the mastery is, what the light of mindfulness is. So when you practice, you're there. You simply brought yourself into resonance through the spirit of water into an action to develop a skill. And you do that with your different exercises. And this is a water exercise. We want to do the same types of magic with earth and fire and air and akasha and light, and invoking deities and using Kabbalistic tuning forks and essential oils. And we take all these tools, we bring them together to insert prayers into the layers of the unconscious to develop skills to master the initiation text. So those of you who have noticed the change in the videos this year is I'm focusing on how to teach initiation more efficiently this year. And I'll be doing all my videos on initiation. And so I'll be covering hundreds of different aspects of training the initiation text and these types of topics. So understanding prayer will give a key to doing the other exercises which I'm going to present in the future videos. But without understanding the vibrational scale of prayer, you'll be missing out on the rapid growth potential that you can get through these videos. Okay, thanks for your time. And I'm in right now. I'm in the Philippines in Dumaguete. This is Sierra Hotel, Sierra Resort, and I'll be traveling a lot over the coming weeks. So I'll be in these types of places making the videos. I don't have the luxury of the suite in Chiang Mai as I did before to set up the camera and do the nice audio. But I'm sure those of you who enjoy the information don't really care where I make it, as long as you can hear my audio properly. There was one video a few days ago which the microphone was sitting on the couch next to me, so I was a bit far away. I tried to boost the audio, but it is what it is. I could hear it well enough on the computer, so I posted it. But I also made a part 2 on that video, just in case I could recap and add a few more things to it, just in case some of you couldn't hear the video well enough. All right, thanks for your time, everybody. And comments are open, so I will be reading them and posting videos on the questions. I'll try to get to most of the questions, but maybe not all of them. It all depends on, I'll prioritize what's important this month to lay a foundation for next month's videos and the month after, because there's hundreds that I need to get through, and I'm kind of limited to, at best, one a day at the moment, because making the video and then editing it and so forth takes time. And obviously won't be able to get an every day when I'm driving from one location to another. I must probably miss here and there, but I'll do my best to get a couple hundred in this year and cover as many of these Hermetic initiation topics as I can. Okay, everyone, take care and stay happy.